This week marked 20 years since the election of the first Harper government, and to mark the occasion, the official portrait of Stephen Harper was unveiled. Here in Quebec, can the CAQ actually make a comeback with the right leader? Tom Mulcair joins us. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Mitsumi. Great to be with you.
Good to see you. So there are two candidates to lead the CAQ, Bernard Drinville and Christine Fréchette. You think that Fréchette could actually give the PQ some real competition?
Yeah, that was my impression personally, and then it was confirmed by a recent very deep polling by Léger that showed that the CAQ, under her tutelage, would leap ahead of the Quebec Liberal Party. And that came as a shock to some people, but not to me, to be honest with you, because I've had a chance to get to know her. And she's an astonishing politician. She's got incredible gifts. She's very good at summarizing, working with people, dealing with complex files. And she hasn't got a gram of pretense about her. She's a refreshing person on the political landscape. She came in, of course, with the 2022 election of the CAQ, has had important files. She was most recently, of course, Minister of the Economy and Energy and a whole bunch of other things. So, yeah, she's one to keep your eye on for sure. Now, her rival in that CAQ leadership is a fellow named Bernard Drinville. He's been around for a long time. He does not have a lot of support amongst the people who have worked with him for the past several years. So, in other words, only one person in cabinet and only a handful of people as MNAs. Whereas Fréchette, she's got like a whole army of people from cabinet who are backing her. They know her, they like her, they want her to be their next leader. Drainville has taken to performing stunts. When his launch was a very strident attack on the past of the CAQ, it didn't go over at all. And then more recently, he attacked very personally, in my view, Christine Fréchette, and it was so prepared and contrived that he stood in front of the microphones and the cameras reading off a piece of paper. So you know all that you need to know about him, because he's supposed to be a good communicator, but here he was reading something that was part of a well-prepared and orchestrated attack on an adversary. And I'll tell you, I've been through a leadership race as one of the candidates, and I remember my principal rival attacking me personally, and I just watched it happen and started going, this isn't going to work for him, and it didn't. I watched Philippe Couillard get attacked personally by one of the other candidates in his leadership race, and I said, that's not going to work either. You don't attack personally people from your own party that you want to work with, no matter what happens. And I think that that's a lesson that Drainville's going to learn the hard way.
Now, I want to get to the official portrait of Stephen Harper, because I think it's very interesting for what he chose to have in that portrait. There is a coffee mug with the Beatles on it. On the side table, there's the book he wrote on hockey. His cat is in that portrait. I mean, clearly, there's more to this man than he let us see when he was Prime Minister.
Well, he is a cat man. He loves cats. And the Beatles, of course, rather famously at an evening of entertainment, a fundraiser of some kind, he sang, I Get By With Little Help from My Friends. And he did it absolutely on tune and playing the piano himself. So that showed a side of him that nobody had ever seen before. And, I think that it's a reflection of him. His book on hockey, of course, was a very good book. And it was well received. And it reflected his love of our national game. But it's been a Stephen Harper week, essentially because when you come back from politics like that, people take a completely different look. And he's not been sharp in his criticism. He gets along very well with Carney, and he's mentioned that clearly. But at the same time, he was looking at the current landscape and saying, yes, we've got super serious problems with the United States, but you can't put everything on the doorstep of Donald Trump. Look at the last 9 years. And he never names Trudeau from what I remember, but he was definitely talking about the Trudeau regime and showing how it was the source of many of the problems, especially the massive deficits that we've got in Canada now.
And Tom, you stood against him as opposition leader. I mean, the two of you had some pretty good exchanges in the House, but he was a man who really understood and respected the institutions of the government.
In my personal experience, very much so. He named me, for example, I was the leader of the official opposition. He made me a member of the Privy Council. And that meant that he was allowed to share things with me at a certain level, knowing that I was bound by a secrecy that went beyond our respective roles in the House of Commons. And he didn't do it often, but the several times that he did do it, it was to inform me about something very serious involving the country. And I respected the secrecy, and he respected the convention, which I don't think was the case, for example, from what I've been told with Mr. Trudeau, certainly not as much. So I do think that Stephen Harper had a profound respect for our democratic institutions. We had very different points of view. I was the head of a party that was very left-leaning, and he was the party of that was once the progressive conservatives and now was the conservatives, and he lived that very well. But he was also an excellent public administrator. He had his own point of view on these things. He was determined, but everybody who's worked with him has nothing but nice things to say about his abilities. And I think that this was a week for celebrating that. And it shows that sometimes when you leave politics, and it can be a very tough moment, but he's certainly been doing very well for himself, and it's very nice to see. And I've had a chance to work with him since then. I moderated an evening with him and Jean Chrétien at the Royal York just over a year ago, and it was a fireside chat that I was there with them for. And both of them are, I mean, Chrétien's amazing. He's sharp as a tack. I got to spend several hours with the two of them before and after the meeting, and I quite enjoyed myself.
Okay. Thank you very much for this, Tom.
Great to be with you, Mitsumi. All the best.